All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to the newest episode of the Minority Pod with the greatest lawyer, most beautiful guy in the world,
What up?
Mustafa Houili.
Hello.
Our amazing guest, Batul.
Hello.
And the other co-host, myself, Khalil Bazi. And let's go right up. Let's do some house cleaning before we get started. For those who are watching, please hit the like, comment, subscribe button, guys. That does a lot for us. Any feedback, positive or negative, let us know in the DMs. Anything else, Houili?
You want to talk about merch real quick?
So for the merch, we just officially launched, we partnered up with Infinity Merch. It's a link in our bio. And if you want to get any of the merch available, you click on the link, pops up, it delivers. It's a delivery system. We had everything in-house, but those are people that are local that don't mind us coming to deliver their stuff. But people that do mind, we partnered up with Infinity Merch. They're going to come out, deliver. It's a whole system like that. It's very clean. We've done like four hoodies.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty legit. So anything else? In today's episode is sponsored by.
This is so cliche, but it's actually sponsored by my law firm, H&H Law. The reason why it's sponsored by my law firm, actually, my business partner, is because my business partner, Christina Hamadi, she knew we were having such a wonderful guest.
Thank you.
A strong, really well-determined woman in the community that's giving back, and it's a very important topic. So Sajud said, no, our firm has to be a part of this. So Sajud wanted to sponsor this episode for us. So H&H Law, it's a law firm that me and Christina Hamadi run. Logo's down here. You're going to see our information on the Instagram page. We do business law, we do cannabis law, criminal defense, civil litigation, landlord-tenant, and family law. So anything you need, you can go ahead and reach out to us.
He's a good guy.
I try.
Support him.
I try.
All right. So for the people that are wondering who Batul is and what she does and why is she on here, give us a quick introduction of who you are and what you do.
Sure. First, I'd like to thank you guys for having me on the show.
Of course.
I really appreciate it. So my name is Batul Maki, and a lot of people think of me simultaneously with like drug addiction. My undergraduate degree focuses on addiction studies, and I'm currently pursuing my clinical psychology degree in graduate school. So I do a lot of outreach within the community, drug prevention, intervention, treatment planning, and inshallah, as a clinical psychologist, I can also work with people that have more serious mental health conditions as well.
So is your main focus mental health, or is it drug addiction? Or is it both?
Sure. So for those that know, addiction is a co-occurring disorder, which means that it is a mental health condition plus a drug addiction happening at the same time. And so if you know addiction, you definitely know mental health. And currently my graduate degree does focus strictly on mental health.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and in today's age, that's pretty. It's not good to say. It's a good field to be in because you're going to be helpful to a lot of people, especially the new generation that's coming up.
Yes.
I always talk about it. Social media is definitely affecting the mental health and the youth. And what are your thoughts on that?
So from what I've seen is that a lot of our youth are most definitely influenced by social media, and they're kind of like conditioned to accept and like not accept certain things. There are pros and cons to social media, but it definitely has its consequences. But there are some good things about it. A lot of like teens go on social media to look up resources, like how to get help, and they hear like informative podcasts, and so they know where to go if they need help. So that's one good thing about social media.
No, definitely. It's crazy, especially with drug addiction in Dearborn. It's so sad to see, especially everyone brushes it off until it happens to someone that they know.
Yeah.
It's huge, and every time it's getting more and more common, unfortunately, in Dearborn. Mm-hmm. I know 2 people that have passed away in the last 3 years with drug addiction, and people always say it's normal or it happens in different cities, but I don't think it should be normalized in Dearborn. I don't think it's been this big. Not as common.
I don't know if it's accidental ignorance. I have no idea. It's tough. Just doing it like just being a part of the legal field, I see it more often than not. And obviously, Batul, with your, career choice, you obviously see it more than others. You're exposed to it more. But, being, the expert and having obviously the most experience at the table with this kind of, I guess, with this topic, I mean, how bad is it in Dearborn?
It's bad. It's bad in Dearborn, and quite frankly, it's bad in every community.
Compared to other communities, you think Dearborn is just as bad or is getting worse?
It's just as bad.
On what scale, though? Like, I'm trying to,
So what I've noticed, and Mustafa and I were talking about this earlier, is that my clientele has been getting younger and younger. And unfortunately, that is because of the culture that, we live in society, that, kids listen to music and they talk about drugs. And, it's like, I was teaching the kids in Dearborn, and they were like joking with me, and they were like, yeah, don't you know that in Dearborn, like the law 16, like we can vape and we can have like the Breeze products and stuff. And it's just, everything is just unfortunately normalized, and it's so acceptable to them. And unfortunately, this is the culture that we live in today. And a consequence of that is that we see higher rates of substance abuse.
I mean, so from the clientele you deal with, why is it you think that, why do you think that you're only dealing with like younger people? And typically, what is like the drug of choice that everyone's going with lately? Is it pills? Is it a mix of everything? I mean, what's the reoccurring thing you've been dealing with?
Sure. So across the board, all of my clients, all of them have started with marijuana. So whether I met them while they're on pills or I met them and they're using harsh substances like heroin, at some point in time they started with something such as marijuana. And so typically when I see them young, it's usually marijuana. The edibles are like huge with young people. We've been seeing a significant rise in psychiatric care. Young people take edibles. They're highly concentrated. They go into a state of like paranoia, psychosis, and ultimately they're escorted to a hospital where they find themselves in a psych unit. And then it gradually goes, typically what I've seen in my experience is that it starts with a soft substance such as like marijuana, and then, it leads on to other things. And I would say in Dearborn, like the drug of choice is definitely the prescription pills.
What do you say to people that say marijuana is not a gateway drug?
So I'm very biased just because of my exposure. Mm-hmm. And there's literature that supports that marijuana is a gateway drug. Mm-hmm. And then there's literature that says marijuana is not a gateway drug. And, once something is on the market and it's profitable, it becomes like, people want to defend it. But in my own experience, just from working with community members and just from seeing my clientele and from the data I have, I would most definitely say that, yeah, marijuana is a gateway drug.
How much do you blame it on the parents compared to like the So whenever I see something like that, usually the household is not the best in shape in a way.
I think what Khalil's trying to say is, I mean, do you think addiction stems from, growing up in a shitty household?
Okay.
Is that what you're trying to ask him?
Yeah, basically coming from the household. Because sometimes I look at a situation.
If you see somebody that's addicted, you look at their household.
I go back one step and I go back to where did it start?
Yeah.
And where does it usually start? Is it peer pressure? Like, oh, I want to hang out with these kids that smoke, or is it my family? My dad smokes, or my mom's divorced? Whatever the situation is, what do you think it causes from? Where do you think it stems from?
Sure. So ultimately, I have seen addiction stem in families that have everything going right for them, and then I have also seen addiction stem, from environments where everything is completely chaotic and it's toxic and it isn't healthy. And some people have genetic vulnerabilities to drug addiction. Their mother, their father, their grandfather, someone in the family could have had a drug addiction, and it makes them vulnerable. But, that's like a tricky question because I've worked with clients that have zero risk factors, zero.
It's
And
perfect scenarios.
I'm here I am looking at for example, Ali, and he has no risk factors, zero, no mental health issues, no problems at home, just everything is great. And then it's just the curiosity piece. Young people are very curious. They have what's called the invincible fable. They believe that bad things will happen, but it won't happen to them. And so they like to engage in risky behavior. And so I've seen it happen on both ends of the spectrum. And I personally don't believe anyone's safe from drug addiction. We're all at risk, especially nowadays with prescription pills and the consequences and the dangers that they bring to the table.
It's a lot to take in.
And I'd like to say, so when we talk about household and environment, that can also play a significant role in someone's recovery.
Okay.
So let's say that I have someone who accidentally somehow got addicted to a substance. If they come from a family that's healthy and they have an intact unit and it's supportive, their success rates increase. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't really know if just coming from a shitty home is, would be okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question. How often is it you see that families are, what's the word I'm looking for here? They're not in denial about a family member's addiction, and they're willing to accept that, hey, this person's going through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we need to come together to support this person. I don't know why. Hopefully I'm wrong, but for the most part, I see the opposite. I see, oh no, my son's not an addict, my daughter's not an addict, my cousin's not an addict. No, they're just going through something. No, they refuse to see what's in front of them.
Yes. And unfortunately, that's why I try to educate parents on the early signs of drug addiction, because I typically see people when they're in the late stages only because of the denial piece. Parents want to turn a blind eye to the signs and symptoms of drug addiction.
Yeah.
And so I forgot what you asked me. I'm sorry.
No. I was gonna say, for the most part, I mean,
denial.
Yeah, do you see most families are getting behind, an addict, and they're trying to help them get through it, or is it mostly they're denying services? They're saying, no, there's nothing wrong here. I refuse to admit there's anything wrong in this house.
That's a good question. So typically when families, what I've noticed in our community, when they reach out for help, there's no denying it.
Yeah. It's gotten too bad.
They've denied it to the point that it's front and center and it's in their face. There's no denying this. But with addiction, I mean, denial is a big piece of drug addiction.
Right.
For the person that is struggling and for the family members as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes with the territory. But
yeah, but I mean, you just said it yourself. A lot of the people you deal with are so far into the stage.
Yeah.
Why have you ever gotten people, where it's been early into the stage and they can be saved before they get so far gone?
Well, that's her goal. You said you went to school,
Yeah.
you went to Dearborn High, I'm assuming, for
prevention, yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's probably huge for the kids.
100.
Yes.
It's required. I think it's so needed.
It is.
Well, I don't know if it's just, all right, let me just think of so when in the denial part, okay,
right.
The one that I knew that passed away about a year ago, actually earlier this year, the brother went up on stage and went off.
Yeah.
This
was after or before this person
April.
passed?
This is after at his funeral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I went to his funeral, I sat down, this guy went off.
Yeah.
He's like, everyone, let's use my brother as an example.
Yeah.
It went too far with him. Okay, we didn't stop it. He didn't seek help. We didn't do this as that, and look where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
Most of I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if it's probably all communities, but the reason why we're emphasizing on Dearborn is because we're from here, obviously, and we live here. But no auto wants to come and be the example. No mom or dad are like, oh yeah, my son or daughter passed away from drug addiction. Let's use him. There's no shot in hell. all the Audub and Dearborn, they want to praise about their kids going to school and everything. There's no shot in hell that they're going to come out and use it as an example. Do I blame them? No. Is it the smarter and like better thing to do? Yeah, but they're not going to do it. If you're like, God forbid, not that anything happens to us. There's like, I would have to sit back before I do that because like, how strong do you have to be to do that? And a lot of people aren't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, 100%. I agree. I couldn't
Like
agree more.
I don't blame people for not doing it, but at the same time, when people brush it off like it's not a big deal, that's where it gets to that point. Because Audub are ignorant, bro. When it comes to that stuff, they're very like their prides are worn on their chest, and they want to walk around like their family's perfect. But the second someone in their family, like they, like the Audub moms get together and they bash other families.
Yeah, but
they get thrown in there.
I get that, but like, at what cost? You know, I mean, these are lives at stake.
Yeah, I know.
At the end of the day, you know, I mean, something's got to give at some point.
Exactly. Like I said,
know?
3 people. You know people that
I know
too.
all of them. I do, and I know them very well. And it's just unfortunate that like, it's like that. I just don't get it. I just don't understand why.
So, a quick question before you start, because I'm gonna lose this thought. So, what are your thoughts, both of you guys, when someone passes away and it's about drug addiction, but they say it's about something else just to cover it up, which has happened. It happened multiple times. Like, let's say he died from drugs, but the family will come out and say, "Oh, he had a heart attack," or he had like something that it's obvious that it wasn't. And people that knew him.
I mean, there was. I mean, on certain media outlets, it became like known if this media outlet reported a heart attack and this person was young, everyone knew it was drugs. Like you don't have to say it was. Like heart attack was like the keyword for drug.
Unless it was a car accident, or unless it was a car accident or known cancer, everyone's instant thought is drugs. And then unless like one time some kid told me I heard some kid passed away, and I was in a group of guys. Everyone's like, "Oh, it was probably an allergic reaction or whatever." And one of the kid in the group's like, "No, it was drugs. I've seen him do it." Like it's just like, what are your I want both of your thoughts on that? Like people are trying to hide it, and should they hide it?
Should they hide it? No. Do I understand why they're hiding it? It's the same point you made. Yeah, I understand. But I mean, here's the issue. Okay, when I see people that are hiding. At this point, if it's done and, it's over and they're still hiding it, that means these, in my opinion, I view these people as, and it sucks. Hopefully none of us have to deal with this because I can't imagine, what's going through a family's mind having to deal with something like that. So, I mean, rest in peace to everybody that's dealt with this. But, I mean, if they're hiding it when it comes out, that means that they were ignoring it when it was happening.
Yeah.
And they refuse to believe it. That's how I see it. But I could be wrong. Batul, I mean, what do you think?
So it's very hard because I obviously have worked with a lot of family members that have lost their children, and some have come out and said, hey, like this is how I lost my son or my daughter. This is preventable. If you see the signs, get help. Don't turn a blind eye to this. I've also seen family members that say like, oh, my son got in a motorcycle accident or car accident or something like that. And what I've noticed is that as a parent, and I'm a parent myself, and as a parent, we want our children to succeed in life. We want great things for them.
Yeah, of course.
And to see your child struggle with something and feel so hopeless and helpless is very, very difficult. What I've seen is I've seen parents tend to say like, well, it was something I must have done something wrong that my son or daughter has a drug addiction. There was a default somewhere. I went wrong. We went wrong. And because of the blame they put on themselves, and because they're so hard on themselves about this, I think it discourages them from talking about this because they feel that it's
their fault.
And they are, in a sense, responsible for the outcome of whatever had happened.
There's 2 things I want to make. So there's only so much a parent can do, right?
Yeah.
Let's say like you sit there and raise this. The teachers are with the parent. Teachers are with the kids more than the parents. Okay, so whatever they learn at school, whatever that's going to control their lifestyle. It's honestly what I think is how their mindset is before they go into school. Like how is their judgment? How's their conscience? How is everything? Because there's only so much you can do until they get to that point. So another point you want to make is like, do I feel like have I done anything wrong? And you're like, you don't know. Like, I think the communication between the generation from the 1990s, like the immigrants that all came over here, the communication with parents to their kids, my generation, I'm assuming you're like from the early generation, that the Lebanese people, everyone that came in, that generation I'm speaking about, I think the communications are awful. People can be ignorant about it compared to what other cultures are, and they sit down and have dinner every day and they ask about all that stuff, that corny stuff that we make fun of. Yeah, that's the stuff that we should envy because the communication skills is off, big time. There's no way in hell you can even like you talk about it though. Like imagine sitting down as a girl, as a woman, talking to your parents, talking about moving out. They'd instantly shut it down. Example. The point I'm trying to make is like the communication is so off, and I think that's where the issue is.
Is it? What do you mean by off? As if like people just don't talk, or is it just it's just difficult?
They're not that comfortable with their parents. They think they are, but the level that they're comfortable with is probably horrible compared to other cultures.
But you're saying it's because of like the generation gap.
I think it's the parents. That
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because of the generation gap.
Yeah, I think it's the parents that came over here. And then there's some, let's play devil's advocate. They came here, they had to build a whole family, work a lot of hours.
Right.
This is that. The communication can be lost in that point. But
yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest problems in our community is the lack of communication. I think the new generation, I'm assuming you and a lot of other parents, inshallah, would all have amazing communication. Because I don't know if you guys had communication with the parents. I haven't.
Yeah.
You know
No.
what I mean?
It's like my mother more than my father for sure.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, here's the thing. So, and here's the part that this is the part that's unfortunate. The parents, especially the ones that came overseas, they'll try. They really will try to understand where you're coming from. But because they're not, they were never here. They will never understand.
Yeah, they won't.
They will do their best, and they will show you their best. But it's unfortunate. It's not the same. And that alone is a tragedy. I mean, what are they going to do? It's out of their hands in some situations, I get along with my mom very well. I mean, we understand each other, but it took a long time.
You do. I've noticed that when you talk to your mom, yeah.
We took a long time to get there. My mom had to, understand that, okay, we are here. I need to adapt, and I need to look at my children. I mean, it's more of a friendly relationship at some point than it is a parental overwatch, relationship. And the hard part is when you transition, from one to the other and understanding the values of the culture. It's hard here, man. You have to understand, they come from it's a 180 to what they saw here.
Exactly, yeah. It's I don't blame, you play both sides.
Yeah, 100%.
And alhamdulillah, the communication level, everything, my mom is fantastic. But in general, I see so much people, it's just so bad.
Yeah.
They'll never be able to tell their parents anything. And I'm assuming you're a parent. And how's the communications with your kids?
So, because of my background, obviously, I'm well versed in this. So, our communication is very good. I have a very good relationship with my kids. They come home and I'm like, okay, did you really have to tell me that? They disclose everything, and but it's because I've allowed that space. Mm-hmm. I've told them that, look, I'm a safe person. Our house is a safe space, and everything and anything can be said here. Because, quite frankly, there might be some stuff I don't want to hear. Yeah. Because I'm at the end of the day, I'm their mom. But if I don't hear it, who's going to hear it?
Right.
Right. Then they're going to get a response or suggestions from someone else, and that might not be the best suggestion. And so I always tell them, and even their friends, when their friends come to my house, I'm like, hi, Khalto, whatever. I welcome them. I'm very cultural, very traditional. I'm from Vintage Bed. If you see me at home with my kids, I'll remind you of your mother. But at the same time, I have this, I allow, the space in my house to where, this is a safe space. I tell the kids, if you guys are struggling with something and you guys don't know who to talk to, or you feel I don't want to hurt my mom's feelings if I talk to her about this, or I don't want to make my parents feel a certain way, you can come and talk to me. Mm-hmm. And this is confidential. I'm a therapist, by trade, but I'm also, consider me like your second mom or an older sister. And I've had some of my kids' friends come to me and they're contemplating suicide and stuff. And, they needed support. And so, alhamdulillah, that I was able to allow them to have that.
So are you that, okay, so yours is different because that's your field.
Yeah.
But if you were in this field, would you have been like that? And are you like that because it wasn't like that when you were there younger?
Yeah. So So my parents, growing up, I had a very, very good childhood. I'm very, very lucky. But at heart, my parents were very traditional. And there were a lot of things that I wanted to do that were just
No shot.
No shot in hell.
because it just culturally wasn't the norm.
Yeah. We know exactly what you're talking about.
So with my kids now, a big part of me allows them to do things because I wasn't able to do them, and because like I want them to experience these things. Like I have a different outlook on like I feel like our parents, their number one priority was to protect.
Mm-hmm.
And it was to protect their kids from things they couldn't understand. But we're at like a different place now. Like we understand, we were in their shoes. Like my kids went to the same elementary school, middle school, and high school that I went to.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so like I literally know what it's like to be in their shoes versus my parents, they didn't. And they, didn't have the educational background, and they didn't live in the same environment. There are a lot of factors that are different, and I'm pretty sure if they had the capacity to like relate, they would have, because I'm pretty sure they wanted to, but they just weren't equipped with those tools. But we are.
Yeah, I said in the first episode, I keep saying it. We're a unique generation. We're raised by boaters. We're raised by these boaters at home that are still living in up Middle East. Like I go some neighborhoods, they got a ada in the front. They have seeds playing cards. Like they're not like people. We're going home. We're getting fed. It's like the Middle East at home.
Yeah.
And you leave the house, and it's the Western. It's America.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going spending here. Let me come here, and then something in my house is bad. It's not look culturally. It's looked. And then you go here, and it's normalized.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like imagine the back and forth. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's very confusing for a young person.
It's very. And the funny thing is, just think of this. Your parents, like other parents, were so strict in their ways of how to raise a kid, right? And you didn't do anything, and you came out great, alhamdulillah, right?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
And you're doing the complete opposite with your kids.
But here's what's funny though.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like in general, I think it's funny like how the way she worded it. She's like, they can experience the things I didn't experience. It's pretty cool.
I know, but here's what's crazy. If you ask your parents how they were raised by their grandparents, they say, "Oh, you got so lucky if you're raised the way I was raised."
Yeah.
My mom says that all the time. She's like, "Oh, you think when I was younger?" I'm like, what do you mean I can't do this? Why? She's like, "I swear to God, if you lived with your grandmother and you saw what she did to us, you'd say, oh, if you think I'm overprotective, if you think I'm this, you go see your grandmother. See how we were raised. We're not allowed to go
It's
anywhere."
always getting easier and easier every one.
Right.
Every generation.
Right. Exactly.
So-
So it's I wonder how it's gonna be in like 30 years.
Like they always say my grandma's upbeat, and then my aunt looks at me. She's like, "Well, she's a cakewalk compared to her mom."
Yeah.
It's like if my grandma's mom was way worse, and then it's getting easy. My mom's way better than my grandma. Like as in like relaxed. My mom was very mellow,
Yeah.
and it's just funny how like you take that and it keeps getting worse and or not worse and worse,
It's funny,
better and
yeah,
better,
yeah.
healthier and healthier. I'd
Yes.
use.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We're assimilating.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that happens over time.
But Tul, let me ask you a question. So right now as a career, so if somebody was to come to you with an addiction or a mental health issue, what would be your job? What do you do for them?
Excellent. So I have this like what I do is typically different than most like therapists that like you go and meet them in an office setting.
Mm-hmm.
If you know addiction, you know that oftentimes people don't want help.
Right.
Or they're not comfortable going out and seeking help. And so what I have found, especially within the Arab American community, is that it's easier for everyone if I come to them. So
Like to them?
Yeah.
Like you physically go there?
Like
Okay.
I would physically go to their home. It's
Okay.
usually in their homes. And then I basically assess where that person's at, if they recognize that they even have a problem, how open they are to talking to me, and then their willingness to seek treatment. And if they are willing and if they want to seek treatment, then at that point I assess the substance and how we're going to move forward with a treatment plan. And if they're not in that space where they are ready to accept help, I work with the families on not enabling the addiction and learning how to set boundaries between their child and their like drug seeking behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
Traveling therapist.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so leads me to my next question. I have this issue, I mean, you and I have discussed this many times, especially, because, what I do for a living. And,
Yes.
I work with a lot of addicts just like you do. A lot of
Yes.
them are, I work with a lot of people that, have been charged with drug-related crimes due to their addictions. There are two things I want to nitpick at. Number one, I have this stupid rule that if you don't check yourself into rehab, they can't force you to go.
Yeah.
I hate that rule. And then number
know.
two, speaking of rehab, you and I have discussed this a million times. Why is there such a high turnover rate in these facilities?
Okay. So
They don't help. I don't think they do shit for anybody.
yeah, so there's a term in our field. It's called the revolving door phenomenon. And we tend to see this in a lot of providers that are like community mental health, government funded.
Government funded. Okay.
So these are programs that aren't really, I'm trying to be nice about this. They're just,
I'll be your filter. Let me know.
yeah, they're not, if you're going to go get help, you're not going to want to go there.
What's wrong with them?
So first and foremost, they're understaffed. They don't have enough staff. If you're going through withdrawal, for example, I've seen it so many times. Someone could be going through detox. They're extremely uncomfortable. Guess what? They don't have a doctor there. You got to wait for a doctor to show up and help you with your discomfort. For someone that has a drug addiction and is that uncomfortable, the odds of them sitting around waiting for a doctor to show up are slim to none. And so people tend to sign themselves out and leave. The conditions there are not really the best. They're not clean. They often have bed bugs. The food is,
God.
I mean, hospital food is like a 5-star meal
Compared to what they give over there.
compared to what they give. And then good luck seeing a psychiatrist. Good luck getting your needs met.
So government-funded facilities are pretty much shitholes, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
In
See?
a nice way.
The program isn't bad. It's the people that fund it, or in general, they work, but not the ones near us.
Well, no. What she's saying is so not a lot of people. I mean, Batul, what's the cost of getting private care?
Okay, so if I actually had a client, and we got an estimate for 30 days at a private insurance, private pay facility, and that's right outside of Kalamazoo. We were looking at $21,000
Jeez.
For 30 days.
for 30 days.
Who's gonna afford that?
For 30 days.
People that are going through that, unless they're like, who?
Yep, and I have had families pay it.
I believe it, but it's just like not everyone has that money.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not everyone has that money, and typically what I like to do is if I have a family that the person I'm working with is open to treatment, I'll say, okay, let's do 7 days detox at a Skywood. That'll run you around $650 to $700 a night, and then we can send you to another state, and then you can continue your care there. There are programs that are like $3,000 a month versus paying
it's still a lot of money.
$21,000.
But let me. All right. But here's the thing, though. Okay. On average, let's just say client X, and this is a person that best case scenario in terms of their addiction, they're at least willing to accept that they have a problem and they want to fix it. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, their family has X amount of dollars. They have a blank check for any of these facilities. I mean, how long are they usually in treatment before you can safely say this person's ready to come out and start at least maintaining a normal life outside of a rehab center?
That's an excellent question, and I'm really glad that you asked that, because oftentimes parents think that addiction is curable, and it's not. So I always tell them right. Our first conversation is I can't make this go away.
Yeah.
So addiction is treatable, but it's not curable. So even if they go to a facility and the parents drop $21,000, it doesn't mean that that person is necessarily cured of their addiction.
No guarantee.
There is no guarantee, because addiction is chronic, which means it's long-term, and it's relapsing, which means that it comes back. And so getting the family to understand really what addiction even is.
Right.
Yep. And then
I mean, how long are they usually at these facilities for on average? I don't know anybody that's done only a 30-day program and they were fine. I like from Rabia, shout out Rabia Darwish. I know he couldn't be with us tonight. Hopefully feel better. I know he had a procedure done or something.
Yeah.
I mean, from private conversations I've had with him, I mean, with his own, people that he works with, he tells me, it takes months.
It does.
Sometimes even years. So if you're paying out of pocket, you're looking, I mean, just for treatment, you're looking over $100,000 a year.
Absolutely. And so let me just kind of like explain how this works. So the first 21 days are the most expensive.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. After that, typically, depending on the level of care, the more trauma there has been, the more resources that person needs, the more expensive this gets. And so really it just ultimately, it depends on person to person.
Mm-hmm.
But typically what I do is I'll send a client to residential treatment. That's where they seek detox. And then they have 21 days in there.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why they're in there for 21 days is because it takes the brain 21 days to learn a new behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially what it's trying, like the motive is like 21 days to unlearn a behavior.
I see.
And then from there, there's a continuum of care for drug addiction. Like it doesn't stop there. And it's very, very, very challenging, and people go back and forth a lot in and out of treatment centers. But it's 21 days. Then they would go to an intensive outpatient program where they would go to an office setting, and they would get like group therapy, one-on-one therapy for 3-4 hours at a time during the day.
Mm-hmm.
But then they can go back home.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, I don't like to send people back home.
Yeah.
So where I would send them is a sober living facility where they can learn how to live and manage their life without drugs or alcohol.
That makes a lot of sense.
We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break.
You just-
And we're back.
There we
so,
go.
I was thinking about, like, why do people in Dearborn, like any other culture in the world, maybe other places, but let's say the white people, right? Do you think if a white person came back and was like, Mom, I brought this woman home. Oh, really nice. Huh? Show me a picture. You think anything out of their minds going to be like, oh, what's her last name? Or where is she from? They don't care.
Yeah, I know.
The people in Dearborn, let's say up there, the Lebanese mainly,
Yeah.
they'll literally prejudge someone instantly when they say bad subah, bad bazi, beidun, whatever the situation is. They'll instantly think they're better than someone because of the last name that comes out of their mouth. And the pride that people have for their last name is hilarious. And majority of these people haven't even been to that village.
Yeah.
You have kids that are 21, 22, whatever, that my age, start going crazy or whatever the situation is, and they haven't even been to Lebanon. Or when they go once every 8 years, they go there, they sit in there, they do their thing, and they come back and they rep it on their chest. Where's the logic in that?
Tell me how you really feel.
Hey, I get so annoyed because so much people look at me like, oh, you're a bazzy? I look at them like, no.
Oh, you're
Don't worry
a
about
bazzy,
it.
huh?
You know, some girl messages like, oh, he's a bazzy? I'm like, don't start.
Do you know, I think it's just pride.
It is pride.
That's it. That's it.
It's funny because how it's thrown in Dearborn.
What do you mean?
Like I just said, the whole reference, like you'll instantly prejudge someone because of their last name.
It's, you know what it is? It's more of like, so let's say, for example, that, you married somebody from a different village, or you're getting to know somebody from a different village. A lot of parents, especially like we're talking about past generation, I don't think the new generation is like this.
Yeah, they are.
Not
as bad. Not as bad.
Bro,
Nowhere near as bad.
Dude, like my mom told me, like, my grandma gave her shit because my father wasn't from the same village as her. Like, it was a huge problem.
Yeah.
It was a huge problem.
Huge.
It's a big deal. It's like, well, I'm like, well, why? I'm not understanding the logic. But here's the thing. Okay, but now hear me out for a minute. When they actually sit you down and explain to you where they're coming from, to me, it still sounds crazy, but I understand why they think the way they think. So mom told me, she was like, okay, well, hear me out for a minute. I was like, okay, she's like, at the time, there wasn't social media. There wasn't cell phones. People only knew each other from the village. Like, that's how you knew this person's family. That's how you knew where this person, like, how am I supposed to know if, for example, the person that I want to marry is, if it's a good man or a good woman, if I know nothing about them? Like, now news travels fast. For example, if you told me, hey, Hawili, I'm getting to know this girl. Do you know anything about her? If last time if there was something that that I thought you should know, everybody would know. Word gets around here. Nobody can hide anything anymore. you know? So it's a lot easier. Back then, it's not the same line of communication. So people chose to marry people from the same village because they knew the families, and they would, I mean, and it was trusted that at least they're, they're giving them a good person, that's where that came from. So if you're from the outside village, right? If you're outside of the village, how are they going to know who this person was? They can't ask around. They're not from the same village.
They know.
That's
though.
where
Then go back to the logic of, that family, and then they instantly start bashing them because they hear rumors and stuff. It's
yeah. I know,
like
but
that.
this is I'm talking about people that were living there. There was, I forgot who came on our show, and they told us, like, in terms of like people like like how they have like villages at war, like they say like that's not something that you see in Lebanon. You see it only in Dearborn. People in Lebanon aren't like this.
Oh,
The people that are,
it's an issue, I think.
yeah, there's that, right? I'm
Yeah.
saying, but like yeah, right, that's what it was. He said the people that are living in Lebanon are not like that.
Yeah. The Middle East is not like that. Here
Here
like
it's a
that.
problem, yeah, and I don't know why. It's so weird. Like these are the people that are supposed to be like more like, I guess,
Civil.
like, yeah, not even civil, just like more, I guess more in touch with the times, but they're like reverting so bad.
And I also go back to you. So talking about like I've seen couples break up because the parents get involved because of other I'm not allowing I keep using an example. Like, let's say you use my last name. I'm not letting a Bazzi, like the parent, like I'm not letting you marry a Bazzi. And it breaks off so much thing, and then that's when the mental breakdown happens. I've seen people go through it just because of that stupid ass like mindset.
You know what I see a lot? It's more of like, it's not the last name. It's more of like, this is actually, it's a good thing you're here. You know how many people I know who they're either getting to know somebody for marriage, or they're and they found out that somebody in this house is either a drug addict, or this person in this house is an ex-felon,
Yeah.
or this person's parents did 1, 2, and 3 back then, or this person's parents are divorced. Oh,
Yeah.
Auzu billah, I'm not going to let my son or my daughter marry somebody whose family, who their parents are divorced, they have, an addict at home, something like that.
Yep.
That is more common in Dearborn.
That is.
Yeah.
That is the
yeah.
most common thing. I've people personally that I know, good friends of mine, that tell me, hey, I was getting to know this person. I am not going to get to know that person because of 1, 2, 3 that's going on in this person's house. Not even this person in general. They could be, they could be getting to know somebody who's a great person, but all because of what's going on in their house, they no longer want to associate with them.
Do you blame them?
Yeah, I do. It's not fair, because now you're taking, with all due respect, when you're married to somebody, okay, that person's in your home. You're not bringing I understand you inherit some issues. That's a given. You can't beat that. But how dare you blame a person who's just trying to put themselves in a better situation? If you like that person, you actually want to be with that person, how are you going to let other people influence your decision based on what's going on in their house?
Yeah.
I can see where someone's fed up that every time they walk in, they want to see their future wife, and there's a disaster at the home every time. You get kicked out. Like, imagine that happening every time at your in-laws. It's a future problem. I can see why someone walked away. I can see why someone would walk away.
I understand.
But you're right.
I just don't think it's
not
fair
right.
to that. No, it's not. Whether it's right or not is up to, I guess it's in, the person that's doing it. But I personally don't think it's fair to the person on the other side.
100%. It's not.
Like,
It's
what
never.
did they do? Like, it's like, because they were collateral damage due to an issue at home, they're not to deserve happiness. What the fuck is that? I think that's just stupid. And that is the issue. I don't see the last name thing a lot. I see that issue.
You're crazy if
Yeah.
you don't see the last thing.
Not as much as this, man. Not as much as this. Bro, I've literally had people tell me, yeah, her brother's addicted to drugs. They think I'm going to get married to her. Get the fuck out of here. No shot. I've literally heard these words, and I quote.
And you don't also have a last name that gets dragged down through the floor.
Everyone's got something, man. Everyone's got something.
I don't really care, honestly.
Dude, if you come from a big family, you're gonna get it. I think of every big family in Dearborn, and tell me whether it doesn't matter what village they're from. They're all of them are shit talk.
Before Betul gets involved, remember our group chat, the flag, I think it was like 6 City of Dearborn posts, all included Bazzi's going to jail.
Oh my
Yeah.
god,
And they kept tagging me.
they did.
Get your cousins.
Listen, there was like a period of time.
It was like last 6 months. It was
Yeah,
like 8
like
Bazzi's
they
going to
drop
jail.
like week by week. It's like a different Bazzi. Either picking up a felony or doing something drug related. Everyone, bro, get your cousin. Cuz, what is
Yeah.
wrong with your cousin?
I think I was the first Bazzi featured on the City of Dearborn that wasn't going to jail. All right, go ahead.
We're sorry. Sometimes we just get lost in this conversation.
No, it's okay. No,
What are your thoughts?
I completely, I agree with Mustafa more so on like, oh, her brother's addicted to drugs, or oh, I heard her dad did this or her mother did that, or whatever the case may be, because I see it a lot, and I agree with Mustafa. Like it's not fair to the person, that really had no choice in being in this situation. But our culture is very.
It's hard. It's hard to deal with,
Yeah.
man.
It can be brutal.
No, yeah, I love our culture. By the way, I love everything. I think it's funny when you look at it from like a different perspective, but they're different.
But you know what? It's our responsibility to like be the change.
100%.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of like generational trauma and generational issues that have been passed down. And I believe that it's our responsibility now because we have the awareness to change it. And our children will learn by watching what we do and what we say. And so it's just recognizing that like that's not okay and just being the change.
No, for sure. Like my brother must have. I said that one time. I said that joke to my brother. Must have. He's like, just change it. Be the better Bazzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Be the better person and be the leader.
Be the better Bazzy.
Be the better Bazzy. Or be the better person. Do good. Be good.
Yeah,
That
people will
phrase.
see me and they'll be like, "You're a Mackie?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "What? I thought Mackies were fat." I'm like, "Oh, okay. I guess not."
Doesn't it like you're a Mackie? Like what is? Makes no sense. Like, what is that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
You're right, exactly. It's stupid. It's
Yeah.
still, but it's funny.
It's
So
funny.
funny.
I don't care. Like it's just funny.
No, the funniest thing I read, like, you'll see a post online, like before they drop a name, they'll tell you, oh, for example, this person was caught with, pharmacy fraud, or
Yeah.
you'll always have, oh, this guy's for sure a Bazzy.
Yeah.
It is
I
what
see
it is.
that a lot. I see that.
Yeah. This guy's for sure this, he's for sure that. It's hilarious that, like,
No other culture. No other people.
no.
You
It's
never
not-
know.
I don't
not
know.
that
Yeah, we
serious.
don't know.
You think a white person is like, hey, don't marry that Smith family. Don't marry that Johnson family.
Don't marry those Johnson.
Don't marry them. Don't marry. What is that one white family? Jorgensen's family.
But imagine if our culture wasn't like that, and imagine if we
good and bad.
were less judgmental and
Yeah.
we were more open. Like, I wonder if we would have all these issues and if they would be so problematic and get to such extremes. They probably wouldn't.
These are petty arguments. These are third world. Like these are not something that like obviously what our parents went through is way worse. Our parents got married at like 20. Our parents were working
in, like,
80
the midst of a war.
in the midst of a war. They left. Imagine leaving another country, finding Michigan. Okay, starting a family, like 3-4 kids off the rip, making nothing. I don't know how these guys did it.
Yeah.
Okay, 3-4 kids.
And all of them were citizens, so, like, there's no welfare. It's tough.
Nothing. They're working. They made it work.
They did.
They raised good families, and it's pretty wild to think of it that we're naturally like our generation's waiting until like 25 to 30 to get married minimum, and you look back at them and you're like, Jesus, they did it.
Batul, since you do have kids, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What's your take on marriage in terms of, like, early versus late marriage? Because I don't know if you noticed. Obviously, you've noticed this, but, like,
Roll their eyes,
yeah,
heavy.
like the age of marriage has, especially in this culture in our community, it's drastically gone up.
Thankfully.
Yeah. So what's your take on it?
For men,
No, both.
women generally in Dearborn still like 20 to. Actually, I should stop this topic. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm not going into that. Go ahead.
So I was married at
Go on
18.
deep end.
Okay.
I had a child, my first daughter at 19.
Okay.
And I joke with Aya and I'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe like I was only 2 years older than you when I got married to your dad. Like, how was that okay? I'm very, very against girls, even and guys getting married young because I don't from my personal experience, like I don't believe I even knew who I was.
Yeah.
At that time or what I even wanted. I just
You're still
saw
finding
everyone
yourself.
else
Yeah.
doing it, and I was like, okay, well, they're doing it, and if I don't do it, then something's wrong with me. Like in our culture, like if she's 26 years old and she's not married, they'll be like, "Lash ba'da ma jawazatsh." And or if like you get married and you don't have a child within the first 12 months, "Lash ba'da hibletsh." Like automatically something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
And thankfully that that has really changed. Like my younger sisters are in their early 20s, and they're like, "Oh,
Taking our time.
why would we want to get married? Like we have it made here." I'm like, "Yeah, you sure do."
Yeah.
You know, like why would you? But alhamdulillah, thank God, because haram. Well, I feel like a lot of girls got married very young, and unfortunately, it wasn't a pretty outcome for them.
It's true.
There's two things. What's considered young to you for a woman to get married? 20 and under?
In her, 20 and I would say like 22 and up
It's fine.
is okay,
Okay,
because there's maturity, there's awareness, there's life experience, there's education. And I always tell my daughters, I'm like, don't you dare ever come to me with the idea of marriage unless you have, at the minimum, a bachelor's degree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I won't even entertain the idea.
Do you think you'll ever get to a point, if any of your kids, whether it's your son or your daughters, they get to a certain age and they're not married yet, and you're going to hit them with the, like the whole, يلا شدوا الهمة.
Yeah, ليش بعدك اتجوزتش? I find myself unconsciously, like, I see a lot of my mother in me.
Yeah, of course, that's natural.
And sometimes I say things, and I'm like, oh my God, I
sound like my mother.
I sound like my mom. Like, I can't believe I just said that. But just because of my experience, I would never push anything on any of my kids. And I just love them unconditionally. And as long as they're happy and they're content with their life choices, I'm good.
Because he gets it all the time. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I have so much to info, but I'm not going to do it.
No, come on. Let's hear it.
No, keep going.
Just come on, speak.
I'm 27 and not married yet. I'm getting roasted everywhere I go.
Oh, I know.
No, I'm not pushing that shit.
He gets ripped. It's so bad.
People
What's funny is I never tell you anything.
Yeah.
It's just, there's one person specifically that he's always on your case about it. So he's always getting shit from his family and like from our friends saying, "Oh my God," especially because like a lot of our friends now are married.
Yeah.
Or they're at least taking the step towards it, and he's still like not on square one. And a lot of people are just on his ass like, "Come on, man! Like, what the hell's wrong with you?" Blah 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 blah.
Oh I have a boater neighbor, right? She's probably not gonna watch this.
Yeah.
I love her though. She's awesome. Every time we have a conversation, it brings up. She's like, I have nieces and I have this is that. It's like, let me know that. I'm like, relax, calm down. The pressure's on me, but at the same time, I don't care.
Yeah.
Just let it happen when it happens. I did not want to talk about this.
Why?
I don't know. It's so heavy in our culture to get married.
It is.
And I'm such a hesitant person. I don't want to rush anything.
That's good though. That's not.
Yeah,
a
no,
bad
I'm
thing.
not worried about it. That's why when people pressure me, it's one after the other.
I mean, let me ask you a question. Have you gotten to a point where you felt personal pressure that, hey, it's time to get the ball rolling? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
You have.
Yeah, whenever I was ready, yeah.
All right, and do you think that's culture based? Or you think that you're actually feeling
It was culture based. I would have got married a while ago.
Yeah.
If I was truly wanted to get married, I could have gotten married a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just basically put myself first, and I don't want to rush anything.
I hear
I've seen
you.
so many divorces.
Oh,
I know
trust me,
about 4 people in my life right now that are close that got divorced, and I find out why, and I'm like, yeah.
No shot.
No. I'm not
Not
downing
yet,
marriage, but like
yeah.
I'm so hesitant. I'm like, gotta find the right one.
Yeah. That's good.
I can't. Like, I'm not
It's
gonna
good to
rush
be
it.
safe.
No, of course.
Do you believe I don't know if it's a myth, but do you believe the saying that the longer you wait, the pickier you get, and the chance of you getting married go down?
No.
You don't believe that, right?
No.
I don't believe that either, but a lot of people tell me that. They tell me, oh, hey, the longer you wait to get married, you're going to get pickier naturally, and it's going to be hard for you to find somebody that's going to suit you because you've had all these life experiences single. It's going to be hard for you to find somebody that's going to fit, I guess every like checkbook, they're going to check off every box on your list.
No, I think if anything, people just get comfortable where they're at.
Yeah.
So I would caution let's say my son, I'd be like, mama, like, don't get too comfortable being single. Like, you want a partner. I want you to have those experiences and such. But I know a lot of, a lot of my friends are divorced, and some of them are like, you know what, I'm never doing this again. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But then other people are like, I want someone in my life. And, as humans, we're primed for connection.
Absolutely.
So it's within us to want to be connected to someone else. It's just a natural drive that we have. It's a beautiful thing, but it's very hard to find.
I think Dearborn's in its own bubble though. Like for men, like 20 to 24, example, if you want to get married, 25, the parents will be like, no, you're not ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
and it's reversed for women. The second that a guy turns 25 to 30, all right, he's primed for marriage.
Yeah.
For a woman, it's 20 to 25. That's when they normally get married. And after that, they consider them like expired or for some reason.
Yeah.
Like you just said, like you usually find the older women. It's like it's only in Dearborn though. It's like heavily.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's pushed. You think
it's interesting? I don't know. I just know. I know for a fact that there's a lot more pressure on a woman in the household to get married than a man. I know that for a fact. Oh, 100%. I know that for a fact. I mean, dude, it happens in every household. I know every single one of my friends, they always tell me, because I have a lot of friends that are my age that have younger sisters. And they're like, because at least the single ones, I'll tell them, hey, are your parents on your ass to get married? They'll tell me, no, but they won't leave my sister alone. Well, how old is your sister? Oh, she's like 22, 23 years old. I'm like, that's so interesting. Like, you're 29 years old. They haven't said shit. But your sister, they won't leave alone. He's like, yeah, I shit you not. Go figure. He's not the only one that's told me that.
Yeah.
It's odd. I feel like maybe the parents even feel like, at some point, if our daughter gets too old, maybe she's going to be forced to marry somebody a lot older than her. I don't know. Go figure. I don't know what the hell goes on through the minds of some parents.
I think
really
people
don't.
need to figure out, this is a corner, like figure out who they are, get everything stable in their mindset.
Yeah.
So I've seen people get married and they go into debt just trying to stunt on people. And like, it's so bad that just for like, everyone get right before they get married. That's what I'm trying to get right. Like, don't be an idiot. Don't rush things. Get right before you get married. Even though I've never got married yet.
Out of curiosity, since we're on the topic of marriage, have you ever dealt, in your area, have you ever dealt with an addiction or a mental health client who they're married and like you have like one of the couples come to you, tell you, hey, my husband or my wife is going through this. I need that. Like we have a family. We got to figure this shit out.
Absolutely.
How is that?
That's very encouraging.
Really?
So when I get someone that comes to me and like, especially if it's like their partner and they want to help them, like I have so much appreciation for them because it's so much easier to just simply walk away.
Yeah, that's true. 100%.
And I find that when people have support, they tend to get better.
Yeah, you're right.
And yeah, so I do see that. I see it a lot.
That's awesome, brother. One of the example, the wife goes and tries to get help for their husband instead of leaving them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sit there and get someone on by your side to make sure like they're still with you. You know what I mean? Instead of just leaving.
I always like praise the person,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a lot of respect for them because I'm like, you could really take the easy way out,
Mm-hmm.
and
Exactly.
you truly love this person.
From the people that you see based on, I know it's very hard to like, I guess, answer this question, but like to the best of your ability, what do you think usually is like the main causing factor of someone's addiction for the most part?
Sure. So typically, we refer to addiction as the disease of the young
Mm-hmm.
because it starts typically when people are young, in
Mm-hmm.
early adolescence. And so what the literature suggests is that 80% of young people that turn to a substance turn to it because they have a unresolved medical health condition such as depression and or anxiety.
Okay.
And so they are trying to self-medicate, and then they get sucked into this, trap of like, okay, I was taking one pill, but now the one pill isn't really helping me with my anxiety. Now I need two. Then they build tolerance and dependence. And then ultimately they start engaging in drug-seeking behavior, and they start hanging out with, the different crowd that's engaged in drug-seeking and drug-selling behavior, and people just spiral. But it's a slippery slope. It's not something that happens like...
So usually, based on your experience, it's very slow. It's slowly progressing, and it usually stems from a mental health issue that nobody even knew existed at the time. They didn't even know they had it.
Yeah. So, young people are highly, highly emotional. When I go into the high schools, I talk to them like they don't even really know that their brain, is still developing. They think they're adults and they're good to go because they're big. And so I talk to students about this, and I talk to them about how their brain is priming and how it's growing, and how what they introduce to their brain ultimately has consequences, and it's like a sponge. Like you're taking in, like, and I always ask them like, you pick and choose what you're taking in, and you're training your brain on what it's going to, your future brain, what it's going to look like in 5 or 10 or 15 years.
Right.
Because addiction is, it does not happen overnight. It is a gradual process. And if you sit with someone and you talk to them about their drug addiction, and like, it's like I was here, but now I'm here. So it's a slippery slope.
What would you say what advice would you give to parents when they're young to like prep them to avoid these issues? Because like I said, there's only so much you can do for the time frame that you have compared to when they're at school.
Yeah. I would encourage parents to keep their kids busy.
Give them like a full schedule.
Or sports.
Yep. Make sure that, like, children, there's a saying, I just can't call it off like the top of my head, but so children, teenagers specifically, are very, very curious. And if they're left to their own devices, it can be very dangerous. And so I always encourage parents to have their kids involved in part of something. If it's not sports, be involved in like organizations within their school so that they feel that they're a part of something. And then also just having that space, and talking to your children like, hey, listen, like, whatever happens, no matter what happens, you can always come to me. If you find yourself in a situation, if you're out with your friends and someone has something they're not supposed to have, or you feel like you're at risk or something can go wrong, like, we can develop a code. Like, I've developed a code with my kids. And I'm like, okay, if you're at the bonfire and things just aren't okay, or someone, has alcohol or marijuana or whatever it is, just text me the code and I'll come and pick you up. And so, parents need to like teach and empower their children and give them these tools so that when they find themselves in these situations, they know how to react. And at the same time, they know that, like, I can go to my mom, I can go to my dad, I can go to my aunt, as long as like it's a safe person, someone that they can go to, because they're going to run into issues.
If you get your kid to text you that code word, you've won. That's where you win. Like, all right, I finally got enough for him to trust me.
It's trust, yeah.
To do that. You know what I mean? So that's awesome that you got to that point.
I've had, like, I tell my kids, like, I want you guys to have like a good high school experience. I want you guys to go to the games and go to homecoming and go to the bonfires and do these things and enjoy your time as a young person. But I also tell them, with this stuff comes risks.
Right.
Like, it's not all pretty and cute. And it's not if your child is going to be introduced to a substance. It's when.
Right. And that's like, I mean, as a parent, how difficult is it for you to kind of just let go?
It's very, very, very difficult because it's a piece of you, and you know how vulnerable they are.
And you know what's out there.
And like, I know what's out there.
Yeah, 100%. Especially you. Like, you know what's out there.
But I have to trust that I have done my job as a parent. I've equipped them. I always tell them, Mama gave you this mental toolbox, and you guys know what tools to pull out. Like, I sound like a white mother. But it's effective.
Yeah.
And so I just say, like, when they go, I'm like, Allah yahmi my kids and protect other people's kids. And sometimes I'm like, all right, it's hands off, and I have to let them go off,
I wish I could the kids will never understand. I want to shake them and be like, the kids that are doing that stupid stuff, they're going to be bums. Like, when you leave high school, like, do what you, like, never mind. I'm not going to go on a rant. Just, no, you're doing an amazing job with that. Inshallah, your kids turn out amazing. Like, they're on a great path.
I pray for other people's kids, and I pray for mine as well. And I don't like to see any kid go down a wrong path, because
it hurts. It sucks. Yeah.
It's so bad seeing this. So, yeah. Okay, guys. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that episode with Batul. It was amazing. Great conversation. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mustafa.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hopefully, you guys enjoyed that. If you guys are seeking help for any way or know someone that is dealing with any issues, please go to. So, give us a quick shout out on your social media and all that stuff. How they can get in contact with you.
Sure. So my page on Instagram is bmackey1008. I'm on Facebook, Batul Mackey. And then you can contact me directly at 313-618-6485.
You're a therapist, to confirm.
Yes.
Great.
I am a substance abuse therapist, and I'm in graduate school becoming a clinical psychologist.
Beautiful. So, guys, for anyone that knows anyone that needs help or is dealing with it themselves, please go to Batul, call her number, or go to her Instagram. So let's go to the amazing sponsor for this week, the greatest law firm of all time, the greatest, the GOAT. Give it off, Wheelie.
Sponsor this week is H&H Law.
Who's that?
Bro, you're the worst. It's my business partner and I, Christina Hamadi, and me and myself, Mustafa Hawili. It's a law firm right here. We serve all of Michigan. We do criminal defense, business litigation, family law, real estate, divorce, cannabis. We do it all for the most part, except for personal injury. You can just follow our page, H&H Law Group, on Instagram. If you need anything, those of you that there's a way to contact me. There's a million ways. You go on Instagram, you can shoot me a text. I'll throw in our number over on the bio. But if you guys need anything, you can always reach out to us. We're here to help.
The greatest law firm
Stop it.
of all
Stop it.
time. All right, guys. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode. We greatly appreciate everything. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We have merch in the bio on Instagram. Any feedback, go ahead and let us know. Thank you guys again for everything. A great supportive community that we've built. And stay classy, guys.
Take care.
Bye.